You're watching PCTV Channel 17, proudly serving the Port Clinton City School District community. The following is a production of the Port Clinton High School Digital Media class.
Welcome to Time for Health. I'm your host, Rachel Fall, and we're very glad you joined us. We hope you gained something from the program that helps you and your loved ones. We want to arm everyone with as much information as possible so we can all make good choices. And this is not to take the place of regular medical care, so be sure to include your healthcare provider in on your plans and your conversations. And today it's the Rachel and Rachel Show. Our guest is Rachel Berry from Stein Hospice. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And you are nurse, Reiki master, many titles, many things that you do. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we're talking about stress reduction techniques. I don't really think we have to talk about, well, you might want to talk a little bit about why we all need that, but people are busy, people are stressed. Talk a little bit about how you got into this area and why it's so valuable.
Well, actually, relaxation techniques are ideas we use in hospice. Okay. And when you use those ideas, those techniques, boy, do people notice a difference. When people are very ill and you do these kind of things, it helps tremendously. They don't need as much medication. They feel more at peace. They can do what they need to do with their time. But actually, these ideas are all meant to keep you healthy. And it was about 20 years ago that I've always been a very go, 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 do, multitasking person.
Yeah.
And I started having panic attacks.
Okay.
And I thought I had a thyroid problem, and I went to an endocrinologist in Cleveland, and he ran a whole bunch of tests, and he pretty much came out of the room and said, well, you know, I can't find anything wrong, but we have drugs for people like you. And I remember I said, I don't want to take a bunch of drugs. I want to find out what's wrong and fix it.
Yeah.
And he didn't really have anything to offer me except medication.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying medicine's bad when we need
Sure,
it.
absolutely.
And I did need to take medication for about 1.5 years, but I started looking into lots of natural ways to support myself.
Okay.
And it was life-changing.
Okay.
And so this
it was a personal and a professional interest in
when
this.
I started working actually volunteering at Stein years ago, I offered to start doing these kind of things for patients and families. And I found hospice was a place that was very open to these ideas. And so I guess, you know, for me, it's helping people die well and helping families and their loved ones at end of life when there's so much stress and pain. But it's also about teaching people how to live well.
Right.
So for me, it's two sides of the same coin. I can do both with these ideas.
I mean, if ever there was a stressful situation, it's end of life.
Absolutely.
And if it can help at that time,
absolutely.
Why not employ these things when you're doing okay to help yourself do even better?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So talk a little bit about what all the relaxation techniques, kind of how they started, because they're old, they're ancient.
Well, you know, actually, a lot of these ideas are coming to us from Eastern cultures. Okay. And breathing techniques, and you know, Tai Chi, Qigong, stretching, Reiki, which we're going to talk about. But I want you to realize that their sciences developed very differently than ours did in the East.
Okay.
Because like in ancient India and ancient China, it was against their religious beliefs to do dissection.
Okay.
They were forbidden to cut a human body, a dead human body. And so they couldn't study anatomy like we did.
Okay.
And then develop all that technology.
Right.
What they did instead is they tried to figure out what would keep people healthy. So not just breathing, not just eating what you eat and exercise, but how you breathe.
Right.
We don't even think about how we breathe. Breathing is a science in India. There's volumes written on breathing techniques. But they would also do things like meditate. We don't get quiet very often.
Not hardly ever.
And when they meditated, they would sense this energy around them, and they started to learn how to work with that. And so Qigong and Tai Chi are all based on understanding that we're all surrounded by this unlimited supply of energy. And when you do that meditative movement with your intention, you're bringing that energy in through your energy, and that's
Okay.
helping to keep you healthy.
Okay.
So they've been doing this for over 5,000 years. And it's really interesting. In ancient China, their doctors only got paid if their patients stayed healthy.
Uh-huh.
People would go to the doctor regularly for advice on how to stay healthy and pay their doctor regularly. And then if they got sick, they didn't have to pay them.
They didn't have to pay.
So just the opposite.
Right.
In our country, in our culture, our doctors are trained to diagnose and treat disease.
Once there's a problem already.
And so it's almost like we've been missing a big piece of the pie. So what's exciting is it's like the best of both worlds are starting to come together now.
Truly.
And people have been searching out answers because in this country we have more technology than we've ever had, and we're sicker than we've ever been.
Right.
And people have been looking for answers, and they've been going to the East to do that.
And you have a couple of resources there. So people are seeking out information about, my doctor's an important, and I always say this at the beginning of the show, your doctor's an important part of that.
Yes.
But there can be other preventive things or other holistic things.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about the best of both worlds. How are those
Right.
kind of coming together a little bit? They're
Right.
working together.
Well, when you do any of these things, like breathing techniques, relaxation exercises, music even, journaling, what happens is you turn on your relaxation response.
Okay.
And when you do that, your own body's natural chemistry that makes you feel well and helps you relax, helps you relieve pain,
Right.
gets turned on. So pain levels go down, stress and tension melt away. They've even shown that people have more oxygen in their blood, wounds heal faster. So it's not like you're doing these things, it's like the marriage of both, the best of both worlds.
Right.
When I know there's some centers in Cleveland that they have like a wing where they do chemotherapy, a wing where they do radiation, and then a wing where they just do holistic therapies.
Gotcha.
Because they know if people do those things, they will get through those difficult treatments a whole lot better. And so it's just supporting yourself as you're going through difficult things.
Because your
So
body
that
was
has helped.
made pretty amazingly, and like you said, your body has the abilities to sometimes heal or
Yes.
make yourself feel a little bit better.
So actually, when I teach this to when I'm training staff and volunteers or out in the community, I always talk about how understanding these two systems in your body, your stress response and your relaxation response.
Gotcha.
And when you're in that stress response, all kinds of chemicals and hormones are pouring into your bloodstream, like adrenaline and lactic acid and cortisol. And everything's just all revved up. Your blood pressure is up, your glucose is up, your cholesterol's up, and you're just wearing everything out.
Okay.
And back in caveman time, we needed that fight-flight response, like to
Needed
run
to.
away from a saber-toothed tiger.
Right. Not any saber-toothed tigers.
And when we ran, we burned off all those stress chemicals. But in modern man, we don't have tigers chasing us. We turn that on with just how we think. With chronic stressful thinking, multitasking, never stopping. That chemistry is always in our bloodstream, and it just wears everything out.
Gotcha.
The opposite of that's your relaxation response. And when you turn that on, it's like taking your foot off the accelerator pedal. You stop that stress chemistry and turn on your body's like natural endorphins.
Those are good.
And that is like your own pain medication that makes you feel incredible. And so I always ask people, can you remember the last time you laughed so hard that you cried?
Right. Oh,
And
yeah.
what that feels like. You feel so good all over, and that's what endorphins feel like. And really, relaxation techniques in general all turn on that relaxation response.
So the stress, I'm just thinking of my own mind, the stress response in your body, that happens a lot, happens naturally.
All
We
the
do
time.
it constantly. But the relaxation, that takes a lot more of a concerted effort to turn it on.
Well, we just don't.
we
just don't do it.
No.
That's the problem.
There are
And-
easy things
yeah.
to do, but we don't often take our foot off the accelerator and say,
Right.
I should try something different here.
And so I always ask people, what do you do to take recess in your life? And it could be reading, it could be getting outside, it could be playing the piano, it could be gardening, it could be. The important reason I ask that is you need to value the things that you do that you love. because it's probably what's keeping you healthy.
Right.
The things that give you a break from everything
Right.
else. And so that you turn off that mind once in a while, and just your body needs to renew and restore, and to have balance.
Right.
So it's all about resilience. You know,
okay.
You know, we all have like a healing system in us. We don't give it a lot of credit in this country.
Right. We need to engage it sometimes.
But
more.
when you cut yourself, you see that go to work. It heals.
Right.
You know, most of us, when we have a backache, stomach ache, headache, those things resolve. You know, we're all exposed to bacteria and viruses and cancer cells every single day.
Right.
But our healing system takes care of those things.
Hear that.
It's when we're run down and we don't take care of ourselves, then our healing system can't keep up. So it's all about finding ways to support yourself so you have the resilience to keep your healing system at its optimal level so it can manage anything that you come across with your life.
That you throw at yourself.
We're all going to go through things, but it's how do you support yourself?
Yeah. And I think I spoke earlier about stress reduction, and I've had other shows where we've talked about that, and you can't necessarily always reduce stressors, because some of the stressors we put on ourselves, but some of the stressors are just out there and they're just going to happen. And so it's about learning how to relax, take your foot off the accelerator, and handle that stress when it comes.
And having things that you can do daily. Not waiting every 3 to 6 months to take that vacation and you're just boom, 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 boom. And then when you finally get that break, you're sick. Because you finally let down and you're pushed so hard. It's finding things to do every day that can
Simple
support
things,
you.
free things, very simple.
Yeah.
What are some of the warning signs? I think sometimes, again, I'm just thinking personally, I miss the warning sign that this is a moment when you need to take your foot off the accelerator. Instead, I think sometimes you push through. Just one more thing I need to get done, or what are some of the warning signs?
Well, there's lots of physical warning signs for stress, but I want to talk about what I think is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's when your brain will not stop.
Okay.
And it's like that monkey mind that never lets you be at peace, and it's in hyperdrive. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's our thoughts that turn on that stress response.
Okay.
But the thing is that monkey mind is also called the ego.
Okay.
It's also, that can stand for earth guide only, or easing God out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It never lets you be at peace. And when that gets so loud and frantic, you're
like
in a bad
monkeys
place.
chattering in a tree above you.
So anything that helps you quiet will help you quiet that monkey mind.
Okay.
And when you do that, you tune into a different wisdom. In many religions, they call it that still small voice within, which is really meant to be in charge.
Yes, it is.
But the other is so loud, we don't hear it.
We don't hear it.
And so the thing about all these ideas, relaxation techniques, you got to do them enough to notice that they make a difference. They aren't a quick fix, they build.
Gotcha.
And once you find that inner voice, that's a whole different way to live. And a much healthier, not just physically healthier, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, much healthier guiding system. And so
that's a good segue. Using all these things helps you find a better way to live and to tap into that. But right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Rachel and Rachel show, talking about relaxation techniques and how we all need them. That the stress chemicals, the stress system in our body goes pretty naturally because we're kind of go, go, go. And now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the relaxation techniques, some of the specific things that you can do every single day. And I like what you mentioned as we wrapped up the first part about how you have to do them enough to know that they're working, that you are not going to be the perfect meditator your first time out, or you're not going to be able to do proper breathing every breath you take for the rest of your life now. It takes practice. So talk a little bit about some of the techniques.
Okay, I love starting by just talking about breathing, because in this country we don't even think about the way we breathe. Most of us breathe very shallow, way up here in this tiny little part, and don't get a lot of oxygen. And actually your lungs are pear-shaped, and when you take a deep breath you take in 8 to 10 times more oxygen. And oxygen is toxic to bacteria and viruses and cancer cells, and so just deep breathing clears that stuff out of your system. But not just physical things, your breathing is directly related to your thinking. When you're breathing shallow, your thinking is very stressful and very reactive. And many times when we're stressed and we're angry, we hold our breath. And boy, when you do that, stress chemicals are pouring into your bloodstream because you're not getting your life force. But when you take a deep breath, your brain waves actually change to a wiser, more intuitive kind of thinking. So your breathing is one thing you have control over that you can change to change the way you feel.
You can do it anytime.
Yeah, and usually when you ask people to deep breathe, they go, and they just fill up here and they get more anxious. And so actually the key is an exhalation. And so a very simple technique is just breathe in naturally. And then when you blow out like you're blowing out a candle. Like to the count of 8. And then hold it at the end. Right, just slowly blow out like you're blowing out a candle to the count of 8. And what happens when you do that, you empty your lungs completely, and then you automatically have to take a huge deep breath. And in one breath, you've shifted into your relaxation response. A friend of mine went to have blood drawn at the hospital the other day, and she said now before they draw your blood, they just have you breathe out like you're blowing out a candle. And in one breath, everything relaxes and they can just slip that needle in.
Nice.
So, but also there's another technique I always teach, and I have had so many people tell me they've had amazing results with that. And it's to breathe into the count of 4, hold it for 6 counts, then to breathe out to the count of 8 like you're blowing out a candle, and then hold it.
4, 6, 8.
What's that?
4, 6, 8 hold. We can remember that.
And you're supposed to do it 4 times in a row. And you're supposed to try to slow it down as much as you can, each segment of it, the longer you go. And it's a profound way to turn on that relaxation response and to reset your chemistry. And I get to go give talks all over the place, and at one of the high schools, the teacher has me come out and do a hospice talk at the end of the year. And she was telling me how stressed out the kids are. And I said, why don't you let me come back and do this other talk? And she brought me a present at the end of the year. And I said, you don't have to do that. Well, she said, well, one of the girls came up to her and said, thanks for having that lady come, because she had migraine headaches for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And all she did was that breathing technique, and she doesn't have migraines anymore.
Wow.
And I want you to realize every time she'd start to have symptoms, she would just start doing that breathing, and all those great benefits would happen. Pain levels would start to release. She would start to relax. It started to turn it all around on her own.
Wow.
So it's very empowering for people to learn natural ways to support themselves. We seem to be brainwashed. We need a pill or a surgery for everything that's wrong with us, and those should be last resort. We should know lots of natural ways of supporting ourselves.
That breathing is so. I heard you speak recently at a CEU program, and I was really impacted by the breathing thing, and I've been attempting to restart jogging. And so as a fresh jogger, breathing is terribly difficult. And so I tried to start really exhaling out, and I'm able to do it a little bit. I'm not running any marathons or anything, but it really helps. It's just like, I can keep going now because I have the proper oxygen. Such a simple thing that we really don't do very well naturally.
Yeah. People that play a musical instrument or sing, like a
opera singer
or a singer, actors, they learn this.
They do it.
It's really
and
important.
Babies do it right.
Yeah. If you were to watch a dog or a cat or a baby sleeping, their abdomens get huge when they breathe because they're taking such deep breaths. It's pushing everything out.
Oxygen.
And that's the way we should all be breathing. Yeah.
Is filling it up. Somebody talked about once that you should breathe like you're filling up a pitcher.
Yes.
You fill up the bottom first, and then it fills up the top. That you should fill up the bottom and then all the top.
So it's finding a way that helps you
But it's
remember
not
to do
easy. I was talking to someone about yoga and meditating, and a big part of those is breathing. But when you don't do that naturally, it's hard, which then frustrates you, which makes you stressed.
It just takes practice. And you know, the thing is, if you practice a breathing technique like that one, then when you get stressed, you've got something there to rescue you. It's
Immediately.
right there. You know it. Breathing out like you're blowing out a candle, not hard.
Not too difficult.
Not hard at all. And something children, anybody could learn. You know, so.
Okay.
You know, breathing is like one of the most important things you could learn to increase the length of your life and help you be healthy and be resilient.
And you don't have to go to a class, and you don't have to pay any
Right.
extra money. It's
Right.
just breathing.
Right. So.
Okay, so breathing is definitely possibly if not one of
It's
the
huge,
most important.
And it's really a part of all of them, pretty much.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, the yoga or meditation.
You know, touch, massage, things like that. Oh, getting a massage regularly is such a healthy thing to do.
Right.
But, you know, my first profound experience with the power of touch was my oldest daughter, who's 30, was born 3 months early. And she only weighed 2 pounds when she was born, went down to 1.9. And she was at Rainbow Babies and Children's for 3 months. And 30 years ago, they had the technology to save those early preemies. But they know if those babies aren't held, they don't make it. And a lot of those babies were born early because their moms were on drugs and their moms didn't come in to see them.
Right.
So they have volunteers that just come in to hold preemies. They call them the rockers.
Aww.
But you know, that doesn't change as we get older. Touch has gotten a really bad name with inappropriate touch
sure.
in our culture, but
Right.
we found in hospice when we started doing just simple massage and Reiki, healing touch therapies, people are starved for touch.
Right.
And they love it, and it helps so much.
And I remember at the program that you did, you said, think about it, when you have a stomach ache or a leg ache, what do? You put
Yes.
your hands on it.
Yeah.
And the warmth,
Right.
it's just comforting.
Healing
Yeah.
energy flows through every one of us. And so I've taught Reiki for almost 20 years, and a lot of times people ask me, what is that? It
Yeah.
sounds very weird. Is it a religion? And Reiki is not a religion,
Right.
but it is an ancient Japanese form of laying on of hands. And laying on of hands has been a part of all religions.
All of them. Yep.
But it's as natural as when you have a headache, you go like this.
Right.
And when your belly hurts, you put your hands on your belly. It's that healing energy flows through every one of us. So it's not being used just in hospices, but hospitals all over the country.
sure.
Even Cleveland Clinic has a Reiki
Right,
department now
right.
and offers it to patients. And so because the benefits of doing those kind of things are dramatic.
Right.
But you know, it's not just touch. Not everybody wants to be touched. And
Sure, right.
what seems to be so important is human connection. You know, you can't just throw a bunch of pills and surgery at people and hope they'll do well. They need to feel listened to.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
you need to be present with people. And they've done all kinds of studies that show that like cancer patients that are in support groups do a lot better than people that are not in support groups.
Right.
Only difference in their treatment. We know, and they've studied it for years, that people that have meaningful relationships in their life and belong to groups that are important to them and
Right.
volunteer
Right.
do a whole lot better than people that isolate themselves. We need other people.
Right. And again, it can be difficult for some people, but it's pretty widely available, social connections and
It's-
volunteering and that.
And
It's-
reaching out to people that are struggling
Right.
with making connections. So the other ideas, relaxation techniques and guided imagery, powerful ways to support yourself. There's a million ways to do it.
Right.
But actually, even if you were like just listening to a CD of like sounds of the ocean, to your mind and body, you're having all the chemical reactions of being at the ocean.
Okay.
When you listen to something, your body just obeys what it's hearing. So actually, they have CDs out to help people with every kind of problem you could think of. Like a little girl that used to live next door to me had asthma real bad. And at asthma camp, they gave her an asthma CD, and every time she'd go into an asthma attack, she'd just put her headphones on, and it was giving her positive images of doing well. And she would come right out of that asthma attack. Just like the breathing would turn around stress.
It's like you said in the beginning about the stress chemicals and all that starts with your mind and what it's thinking about.
But what's interesting about guided imagery is the way it actually works is your brain isn't just, your mind isn't just in your brain, in your head. Every cell of your body has receptor sites for your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions, and so your whole body's getting it when you're listening to something and listening and obeying.
Right.
And so that's like why when you're worried you feel weak everywhere, because your whole body is listening to what you're saying to yourself.
Whatever you're worrying about, yeah.
There you go with stress again. You know, whatever you're saying to yourself. But then if you're listening to something positive, that's going to help you go the other direction.
Right.
So when you're having a hard time doing it for yourself, you can put in a CD and it'll take you to that better place.
And again, it's being able to do that enough that you can notice it and to start kind of feeding your mind and everything the right stuff. We have about 1 more minute. You want to talk about one last thing?
You know what? There's just so many ideas.
Yeah.
Humor, laughter turns on, like we said earlier, amazing, healing. Aromatherapy, prayer, meditation are like the gold.
Right.
Puts people in a very, very deep peace. Poetry, art therapy, journaling, powerful ways to tap into the creative side to bring healing.
Right.
And amazing things happen when you do those kind of things.
Awesome.
But so it's more about, I guess if I had any message to give, there's a lot of good answers out there, and it's really about finding what works for you, what helps support you.
Touch isn't your thing.
We're all different. We're all different. So what would appeal to each person might be different. Awesome. But finding a way to turn off that stress.
I'm going to stretch us just another couple seconds, but when I think about this, you know, we tend to go to Google to look up all these things, and there's some sources that are better or worse than others. Do you have any recommendations on that?
I don't.
I'm
sorry.
And I think it's just a matter of kind of looking through that with an educated mind.
All these are ancient ideas. I mean, they're really, it's ancient wisdom. It's like we've gotten so into technology, we've sort of turned our back on this wisdom that's been around for thousands of years, and we need to relearn some of that wisdom.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back. Thank Rachel for being our guest today, and if ever there was an episode that is applicable to everyone on the planet, this is it. So I can't even begin to go through all the different things that we talked about. So I hope you paid attention, watch the show again, write down some things that you might be able to use, people that you know and love might be able to use. It's all very, very natural. It's very easy to access. So there's a lot of great stuff out there. So if you ever have a feedback about a program or a suggestion for a future episode, let us know by sending a note to Time for Health, 615 Fulton Street, Port Clinton, Ohio, 43452. Or you can email Mrs. Pelz at the high school, CPELZ, at pccsd-k12.net. So again, think about something that you learned today, even if it's just one thing, if it's breathing, that you can implement for yourself. And until we meet again, I encourage you to make time for health.